We are just under 18 hours away from number 3 Texas taking on number 10 Michigan in Ann Arbor. There may not be another top 10 matchup until week 5 or week 4 or week 6. If you look at the week 3 slate right now, there's little to more likely no chance that there's a single top 10 matchup. This is by far the biggest, most anticipated non-conference game of the 2024 season, with Texas and Michigan both being teams that participated in the final 4-team college football playoff in 2023. They were preseason top 10 teams, and now the chickens come home to roost in week 2. Who's going to come out on top? Who's going to win this game? Will it be close? Will it be a blowout? I don't exactly know, because that's what college football is all about. College football is not played on paper. It's not played on my computer right here. It's played by a collection of, if you include walk-ons, over 200 men and several other coaches on the sidelines, analysts who are working with their respective teams in practice. There are so many moving parts to college football. I happened to pick Michigan to win, and typically I would do a video like this one where it would be for both teams. 5 reasons why Michigan wins and 5 reasons why I think Texas will win. But I was sick this week. You can probably hear it a little bit in my voice. I sound a little bit plugged up. So I'm only doing 5 reasons why Michigan will win because I picked them to win. But down in the comments section, you will see 5 reasons that I have listed as to why Texas will win this game. And again, typically, I would make a video for 5 reasons why I think Texas will win. But for today, enough of the introduction. I will be showing you, presenting to you 5 reasons why I believe the Michigan Wolverines will beat the Texas Longhorns tomorrow. My official score prediction is 23-20. I think it will be a close game with tons of field goals, a turnover, or maybe 2 from both teams. It will be a long, ugly game. There will be exciting moments, but again, a plethora of field goals, red zone struggles, a game of defense. It will look, I think, like a Big Ten game, which is part of the reason why I'm picking Michigan. But I want to dive deeper and give you some specific reasons and analysis. Before I get to that, though, I want you to subscribe to the channel, to share this video around to Michigan or Texas fans who you know, or college football fans that will be interested in this matchup, so we can grow College Football with Sam to 20,000 subscribers, 25,000 subscribers. I'd love to hit 25,000 or even 30,000 subscribers by the end of the 2024 season, which I think will be one of the most exciting college football seasons of the 21st century. With the 12-team playoff, for example, the loser of this game is not going to be out of the playoff race. They will very much still be in, and the winner, well, their chances of being in are going to skyrocket with a big non-conference quality win. But again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, comment your thoughts down below. That will help us get into the algorithm, help you stay notified of new college football content we release here, and increase our subscriber count, which helps out this channel monetarily, along with, of course, more importantly, getting more views and watch hours. And also, it will increase your odds of being rewarded, as we will be doing a giveaway at 20,000 subs, where I will be giving back to you as a thank you for helping grow this awesome college football community. But let's get into it. And I want to spend a few minutes on each reason. I have given you 5 reasons why I think the Wolverines will win here. Texas is only favored by 7 now. It was 7.5, but the majority of the money and bets are still on Texas to win this game, and they won 38-37 in their matchup in 2005, their most recent matchup. Reason number 1 is Michigan has college football's number 1 defensive line, and after the performance in week 1, I am more confident in this opinion. In the preseason, I held this opinion, though I thought Penn State and Ohio State, maybe Georgia, if some of their recruits from a few cycles back and the most recent cycles hit. Utah's also up there, and there are some other teams that have really good defensive lines. But Michigan, I thought, was separate because they have Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham, who are projected to be first-round defensive tackles, a lot like Texas's interior defensive line last year, which had Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. I think Michigan has that this season, if not potentially better. And it was a similar case last year. They had Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham, but also Chris Jenkins and backup Rayshawn Benny, who's now the main backup in the rotation this year at defensive tackle. Michigan easily is the nation's number one defensive tackle room. But what I think shores up a defensive line that is the nation's best is Josiah Stewart and Derek Moore, who are great pass rushers. This is the nation's best and deepest defensive line. It's a unit that last year in 2023 had 40 sacks. It had a pressure rating of about 10%, 9%. They got to opposing quarterbacks 9 to 10% of their dropbacks, which is very impressive. Mason Graham, last season for the Wolverines, he had 3 sacks. Kenneth Grant had 3.5. Josiah Stewart had 5.5. Derek Moore had 5. This year for the Wolverines, Rayshawn Benny already came on the scene, earning a sack this season, and Josiah Stewart already has 2. The defensive line was a big part of the reason why Michigan held Fresno State to under 10 rushing yards, less than a yard per carry, and got pressure on Mikey Keene. Texas has a good offensive line, one of the better, more experienced offensive lines in the country. They allowed 28 sacks last year, and they have a player in Kelvin Banks, who's one of the better offensive tackles. They have Jake Majors along their defensive front, and Cameron Williams, DJ Campbell, and Hayden Connor are other players to watch on the offensive line. But they are going to, I think, face the best defensive line and possibly best defense they faced all year. And their toughest challenge will be up front. Michigan's toughest challenge that they will force other offenses to face, opponent offenses, is their defensive line and defensive front. Their secondary, though, is also tough. Their run defense, I think, is better than their pass defense, but reason number 2 for why Michigan will win this game is their pass defense. This pass defense has held quarterbacks, some of the nation's best quarterbacks, to having an effect on the game, but a much more minimal effect than their quarterback rating, passer rating, and numbers against other defenses would suggest. Michigan held C.J. Stroud in 2021 and 2023 to having a good or great performance, but not an elite game-breaking performance. They forced him to slowly carve Michigan's defense up and down the field and made him be patient. And Stroud in 21 and 22, I think, is better than Ewers last year or this year. And I think Ohio State in the 21 and 22 seasons, no doubt, has a better receiver core than what Texas has this year. And Texas has an elite receiver core, but Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, throughout all of those seasons, that is potentially one of the best receiver cores in terms of future talent in the history of the sport. And they had a great offensive line, especially in 22, and Cade Stover and Jeremy Ruckert in both of those years, and Michigan with a defense that arguably was less talented than this defense, particularly on the defensive line, yes, but they also didn't have 2024, 2023 Will Johnson. They had a true freshman, Will Johnson, and then a weaker secondary in 2021, and they were able to slow that offense down. Michigan defensive coordinator Wink Martindale is the architect of Michigan's current defensive system, so he knows a thing or two about slowing down explosive offenses, and that is what this defense has been best at, is stopping defenses that are elite in passing the ball. It doesn't shut them down, but it challenges them, especially when they get inside of the red zone or close to the red zone. Michigan's defense, the best I can describe it when it comes to pass defense over the past several seasons, is in pass defense, it's bend but don't break if the pass rush doesn't get home. And in run defense, it's a vicious animal, really last year, that's hard to stop. Michigan has really improved in its run defense compared to its 21 and 22 seasons. But then you go further than Ohio State. You look at Penix last year with Roma Dunze, Jalen Polk, and Jalen McMillan, and a solid core of tight ends as well, and Michael Penix and a Joe Moore Award-winning offensive line. And Penix had one of his worst games ever in a Washington uniform. One of his worst games of his career, really, outside of that awful 2021 season where he was never fully healthy. There's that game. And I just think that with Will Johnson, he can lock down one side of the field, and Michigan has Makari Page. They have Zeke Berry. Their safety room should be able to keep tabs on Texas's tight ends. They should be able to make sure that there isn't a massive big play often or at all. Michigan's concern, I think, on defense in this area here for reason number 2 is, I would say, their cornerback room. Will Johnson is strong, but Michigan is starting redshirt freshman Jair Hill opposite of Will Johnson. Zeke Berry, Quentin Johnson, Makari Page in the safety and nickelback positions, and Will Johnson I'm very confident in. Michigan this season, they already have 2 interceptions by Will Johnson and also by Zeke Berry. They have 4 passes defended. And in 2023, this unit was very good at forcing turnovers. They had 18 interceptions, 52 passes defended, and 4 pick sixes, along with 13 forced fumbles. Large part because of the secondary, especially the picks, and the fact that they were able to create explosive plays while putting up similar numbers to Ohio State's secondary in raw pass defense efficiency. They will challenge Texas's wide receivers, and I think make it a little frustrating and tough for Quinn Ewers to quickly get down the field and do what he wants to do through the air. Reason number 3 is the new Lightning and Thunder. You know about the stories of Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins, and then it was Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards in 2022 and 2023. Well, now Donovan Edwards is back, but I think it's clear from the Fresno State game and his 2022 and 2023 seasons that he is a home run hitter. He just is. And Kalel Mullings had a much better performance than Donovan Edwards did in week 1. Check out these stats from 2023 from both of these running backs. Mullings had 222 rushing yards on 36 carries for 6.2 yards per pop and 1 rushing touchdown. Edwards had 497 yards on 119 carries for 4.2 yards per pop, and he had 5 rushing touchdowns. And he averaged less than 4 yards per carry for much of the 2023 season. In 2024, Kalel Mullings in week 1, 15 carries for 92 yards, no touchdowns, ran for 6.1 yards per pop. Edwards had 11 carries for only 27 yards. Again, no rushing touchdown, and only averaged 2.5 yards per carry. I think that it is clear, and I think you see this from the fact that Mullings was getting all the carries really after, I think, the first quarter, certainly after the first half, and all the carries is an exaggeration, but he got most of them, and he was doing very well. The staff will adjust from week 1 and I think do a better job of making sure these running backs complement each other. Get Edwards out in space. Use him as a pass catcher. I don't know if the staff will do that perhaps, but I think they will try and get him to the outside and stop trying to force him in the inside like they did in week 1 and really leave that for Kalel Mullings. Also factored in to this, I believe, is Alex Orji. Alex Orji is a ground threat. There's absolutely no denying that. And against Fresno State, he had 32 rushing yards on 5 carries for just over 6 yards per carry. Last season, he was utilized in a variety of ways on the ground. He had 86 rushing yards on 15 carries for just over 5 yards per carry, and he did have a rushing touchdown. This was, again, in 2023, when Michigan went 15-0, they trusted him to enter the game against Alabama, against Washington, against Iowa, and Ohio State. The final 4 games that Michigan participated in, all against top 20 teams, and 3 of those 4 games were against top 4 ranked teams. So the new Lightning and Thunder, Michigan's running back room, the running quarterback, Alex Orji, who I don't think will start Saturday. I don't think that starting Davis Warren was like a decoy move, but I do think he'll be more involved in the offense than he was on Saturday. And I do think this rushing offense, along with especially focusing on Khalil Mullings and I think a little bit of Donovan Edwards too, it wouldn't shock me if he came alive in another big game. They'll test a Texas front, which in losing Sweat and Murphy, I do think has some questions. Reason number 4, I'm going to keep this one brief because it's about one player. It's Colston Loveland. Colston Loveland is currently Michigan's leading receiver. He was Michigan's leading receiver in terms of returning production from 2023 to 2024. What I like about Colston Loveland is he's an absolute mismatch. You saw this against Ohio State last year where whether it was Eichenberg, Chambers, or Simon, they couldn't cover him. Last season, he had 649 receiving yards, 4 receiving touchdowns, averaged 14.4 yards per reception on 45 receptions. This season so far, he has 8 receptions for 87 yards and a touchdown. He is Michigan's only receiving touchdown right now. Against Ohio State last season, he had 5 receptions and 88 receiving yards. That was a season high for him, tied for receptions and a season high, season record, you may say, in terms of receiving yards with 88. Loveland matched up against Texas's linebackers, I think will be tough for Texas to overcome. Texas, in my opinion, does actually have good linebackers. They have talent there, like Anthony Hill Jr., a younger guy, but someone who had enough playing time as a freshman to where they didn't redshirt him. He's starting. David Gabenda has been with the program for many years, starting for them, and he had his biggest season, his best season last year. And Trey Moore is positioned in that really edge, hybrid defensive end linebacker spot where he's going to be a blitzing linebacker, Trey Moore, who had over 10 sacks at UTSA. Texas's front is, as I said, more questionable, I would say, at run defense than pass defense because you have Trey Moore, you have Barron Sorrell, you have players who are, I would say, proven at rushing the passer, at making the quarterback uncomfortable, especially with Trey Moore. And the linebackers have some questions too. This Texas defense it's good, it's great. I don't think it's elite. I think any Texas fan would say that as well. And having an elite tight end like Colston Loveland is just a big advantage, an underrated advantage that goes in Michigan's favor. The Longhorns linebacker core will have issues covering him. And that's a very good thing for Michigan because I don't think the Longhorns will have issues covering any of Michigan's other receivers. They'll really have to be schemed well to get in open space and to make sure that the defense for Texas can't take advantage of any mishaps from Davis Warren or Alex Orji passing the football. But with Colston Loveland, I think he's a mismatch. I think he'll get open on his own. I think he'll do things on his own that give Michigan's offense a little bit of breathing room and don't only force them to rely on their ground attack, which is their strong point. And last but certainly not least is their elite special teams group. The Wolverines have a great return specialist in Samaj Morgan, a great punter in Tommy Doman, and Dominic Zvada, who went 2 of 2 on field goals of 50 yards or more last weekend, and he also made a field goal from over 40 yards, and he did very well at Arkansas State. I think elite special teams is a big reason why Michigan will win this game because most teams don't have the same quality of special teams that Texas does. They don't have like a Silas Bolden at punt returner or kick returner. They don't have a Bert Auburn, nearly blanked on his name, that would have been bad at kicker. They do have a freshman punter, Texas does, but having an elite kicker and an elite return specialist is big. Most teams don't have that. Michigan doesn't have an elite returner, but I would say they have a great one along with a great punter and I think an elite kicker. Michigan may have the special teams advantage here. I would say it's a push right now, maybe slightly lean Michigan just because the greater experience at punter, but Texas has an advantage, and this was showcased last year where Bert Auburn won them a lot of games, helped keep them ahead when their offense sputtered out in the red zone. Michigan can, I would say, equalize that. They can go pound for pound on special teams with Texas, which a lot of teams cannot say. Those are my 5 reasons why I think Michigan will win on Saturday. My score prediction again is 23-20. If I'm wrong, well, I'm wrong. It's the beauty of college football. I do think Texas is the better team neutral field. But with these reasons, a few matchup advantages, and I think more matchup advantages go Michigan's way than Texas's way, plus home field advantage, I think will make it a hard-fought game for both sides, in which I think that just Michigan comes out on top because of their better defense, special teams. They have some knacks on offense that can test Texas's defense. And crowd noise, especially in a place like the Big House, does matter. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment your thoughts down below. Thank you to Crash2488 and Brasco Rascal for being Heisman members. Thanks to Chris Lane, Connor Little, OH, Ismar, and Tyler Nye for being All-American members. Thanks to John Lynn, Roaming Gnome, Matthew Sale, Austin Christmas, and Janisha Cockrell for being All-Conference members. Have a great day, guys, and I will see you all soon. If you want to get my merchandise, you can either sign up as a Heisman member for 6 months at $25 a month, and you'll get free merchandise of your choice signed by me, or you can just purchase it via the link in the description or down below in the pinned comment, and you will also find my Patreon page link there. Have a great day again, and see you all soon. Go Blue, and go Longhorns.